This city was the richest and most prosperous in this country. But what happened here that would turn this city into one of the biggest ghost towns in the world? This place is more abandoned than Chernobyl. That's what I'm going to tell you in today's video. Welcome to the ghost town of Varosha. 50 years ago, the UN came here to try to guarantee peace, but a war could break out at any moment. Welcome to the paradoxical island of Cyprus. We're about to enter Varosha now, which is the ghost town abandoned 50 years ago. Just look at all the instructions that have to be followed. This city was abandoned and closed off for 50 years. When I was learning about Cyprus, this was one of the places I wanted to see the most, that I wanted to visit the most, because this place here gives you chills. Just imagine that this city used to be one of the most famous and sought-after tourist destinations in Cyprus. People like Elizabeth Taylor and Brigitte Bardot used to come here for vacation. Estevam pelo mundo. But why can't people live here anymore? After all, it's a city full of buildings, full of infrastructure. What happened to Varosha? In 1974, with the division of Cyprus between southern Cyprus and northern Cyprus, the city of Varosha, which was mostly inhabited by Greek Cypriots, had to be evacuated. The Greeks left in a hurry, taking everything they could. Many believed that within 30 days, they would be back here as soon as the conflict was over. But the sad thing is that to this day, this conflict hasn't ended. And Turkish and Greek Cypriots keep fighting with no one able to come back here. Let's try to understand a bit of what's going on here. This area where I'm standing is part of northern Cyprus, which is an unrecognized country supported by Turkey, and it occupies about 35% of the island of Cyprus. Take a look at this map. But all this territory until 1974 was just the Republic of Cyprus, a great country, happy, recognized by the UN, and that had everything to remain at peace and live in prosperity. And finally, people could focus on being happy and evolving. But that's not exactly what happened. The houses and businesses we see here used to belong to Greek Cypriots who had to leave after the division. After all, geographically, this piece of land doesn't belong to the Greeks, but to the Turks. And that's why the Greeks could no longer live in their homes, work in their businesses, or visit their doctors. Simply put, no one could live here anymore. Just imagine building, buying, or inheriting a house that is rightfully yours, that belongs to your family. Or having a business, a store, and overnight you have to run away, literally go to a refugee camp, which is what happened to the vast majority of them, and never being able to return. When I was in the Greek part, the owner of the hotel where I was staying, at the reception, told me that his greatest pain is that his father and mother died, and they were never able to come back here to Famagusta, where he used to live. They had to evacuate, and they never had the chance to visit or live here again. Many can even come back to visit, but sometimes they don't even want to, because it brings much more pain than joy. To return to the city where they dreamed of prospering, where they had a life, and today they can't do anything here. And several Greek Cypriots are still trying to get their homes back to this day. Just imagine having the deed to your house, having the permit to finish your construction, having everything in order, but you simply can't. You can't go on with your life, your dream, because the country went to war, and you have to accept the political reality as it unfolds, even if it breaks your heart. There's still a fence, a barrier, so we can't go over there. Look at that. I even wanted to get closer, but we can't get that close. You see these signs telling you not to enter. These protected zones are everywhere here in Cyprus. And the city, it wasn't just abandoned, it was also bombed. So heavily bombed that we can't enter any building. If we go into a building, we could be arrested. I really wanted to explore more. Let's see what's over there. And the obsession with marking territory was so strong that today you'll find all the cities here, even street signs, buildings, constructions in Greek, in Turkish, and even with a third name. That's because everyone wants to claim their piece of land. Are they wrong? Are they right? And Varosha was so rich that taking this city from the Greeks for the Turkish Cypriots was something really important. Because besides affecting them psychologically, it would have a huge impact on the economy, on history, and on the dignity of the Turkish Cypriots. About 40,000 people lived here in Varosha. There were 24 movie theaters, which was a lot for that time. So you can get a sense of how lively Varosha was as a city. We can see shops here, some factories, and various businesses. There were some unfinished buildings, but also, look here, they had their own cafes, they had the Galaxy. The Galaxy S25 already existed. Just kidding, it didn't exist at all. Bad place to make a joke, Estevam, stop it. Just to lighten the mood in this place, which isn't an easy thing to do, guys. Guys, look at this. This place is more abandoned than Chernobyl. Chernobyl was, wow, it wasn't as set up for jokes when I went there. Just like here. Here I see many more houses and buildings. There's so much here. It's the kind of place where the sun seems like it wants to come out but never does. Nice phrase, isn't it? This is the kind of place where it feels like the sun wants to shine. But it can't, but it's trying. In recent years, there have been a lot of discussions about what to do with Varosha. To get in here, you needed a special authorization that was really hard to get. Yeah, now I managed by booking this tour to visit the city of Varosha. But they're already allowing tourists to visit. Today, the United Nations takes care of this area. A big part of the reason the conflict stopped is because the UN stepped in. It's hard to imagine, right? Seeing these buildings, it's nearly impossible to picture happiness or what life was like here. Yeah, couples on their honeymoon, kids playing. Look at this, maybe it was a court or something. You can see here clear elements of Greek architecture in this abandoned building. It's funny how we perceive the world, right? Because people see the planet in a very binary way. Either people are like us or they're different. It's as if there's no tolerance. And whenever I talk about traveling and such, when I started my travel channel, when I went on my first trips, one of the things that made me happiest was seeing how beautiful all cultures are, you know? How everyone is nice, how there are so many more good people than bad, and how traveling can really change the way we see life and the way we see the world. Maybe if people traveled more, they'd stop thinking that only what is ours is good, only what is ours matters, only what is ours is important. I don't think we'd have wars anymore. When you start going to other nations, start going to other territories, and you begin to see, to notice the beauty in those places, the people who live there, for sure the wars would end. I really hope that one day people can return to Varosha. I really hope that one day children will run again. Young people will play beach paddleball on the sand again, kayaks will float on the water again, and life will return to normal. It will be incredibly hard to leave a place where you built a life, where you lived, where your family was born. Some people around here try to enter the properties, but there are guards watching. So when you come here, don't do that, okay? They say you can get arrested or fined. You know how it is, right? A place that's a conflict zone, a war zone, right? It's kind of no man's land. So there's not much room for messing around, okay? You have to respect it. Varosha is a good place for us to come and appreciate the little things in life. Like, for example, our peace of mind knowing that right now in Brazil, in Portugal, we don't have to worry about a bomb dropping. We don't have to worry about having to evacuate our property in a hurry and never being able to return. I think Varosha is a good lesson in that. We often complain, right, that we live in a violent country. I say this as a Brazilian, and in fact, it's not a very safe country. We have problems, especially in daily life. But I think that when it comes to living as a nation, Brazilians are able to do that very well. We can see ourselves in a certain way, even though there are jokes and cultural differences between the regions of Brazil. Don't you think we're a very happy, very easygoing country? I believe Brazil would never do something crazy like what Cyprus did. What do you think? Leave a comment, I want to know your opinion. Now we're arriving at the most iconic place in this city, which is the abandoned building, the abandoned Toyota building. And look at how it is now. Let's check out the inside of this building today. Everything's destroyed, there's nothing left. And here we can see a big part of the reason and the arguments that the Turkish Cypriots used to say that Varosha can't be inhabited by the Greeks anymore. According to them, the Ottomans, who are the Turks, had already owned these lands for more than 300 years. But then, at the beginning of the 20th century, the Greek Cypriots came here and started using this land for commerce, to live, to build private homes. That started to make a lot of people very angry because they swore that this land didn't belong to the Greeks, but to the Turks. But these problems really only started to appear after the British began collecting data about the island to see who was really Greek, who was really Turkish, what their ancestry was, their beliefs. And that started to cause a lot of conflict because in a way, people have a very strong sense of nationalism, right? Yeah, I'm not saying that's wrong or right, but I think everything should be done in moderation. This Toyota building is one of the places where Turkish Cypriots claim it belonged to them more than 300 years ago. And they found the documents, which according to them, are an example of the illegal appropriation of this territory since 1913. They provide clear evidence showing exactly where it happened. Remember, we're on the Turkish side, right? So clearly the arguments will always be in their favor. There's a souvenir shop. That's crazy, right? There's almost nothing left. Actually, there's nothing left. But it looks like an apocalypse scene. It's strange. I think it's worth visiting someday. But honestly, it's a sad place. It feels like the world ended and was left like this, you know? It's like a movie set where everything is gone. Soon, who knows, zombies might show up. And I'm not even joking. Eu nem tô brincando. Look over there. That's where the city ends. Wow, Ilha, look at this. It's so crazy. Look at this. It just haunts me. But these people who are coming in here, they could totally get arrested. They don't even care. The main reason they forbid us from entering is because, just imagine, the city is abandoned. Everything is kind of collapsing. It was bombed. At any moment, if you do something, it could give way, collapse. It's really dangerous. My God, it flew. People come here to go sightseeing on scooters. Look, that's what happens. Danger. Vlogging while riding a scooter, that's not a good idea, especially in a place like this, right, man? The couple was all happy and romantic there, look, and then they fell. As I was saying goodbye to Varosha, I felt a huge ache in my heart. I wondered what this place would have been like if humans had never known war. I kept thinking about how happy people here would have been if none of this had happened. Just a few minutes from there is the fourth and last territory of this country that we're going to visit. A place taken over by the British and packed with weaponry and special operations activity. After all, to this day, Cyprus remains a country divided into four. But what is life like in this small British territory? So close to one of the most abandoned and forgotten cities on the planet. Where I am now is the fourth territory, the fourth zone of this country. A base where the British live and operate. Today they have 3 bases in the country. This one is near Ayia Napa, a tourist paradise. They have no idea how much weaponry there is and how many military operations take place in this small territory. Look at this. Look at the map. Ayia Napa is here. And look at this little square. That's the military base where I am. Look, we have a community base here. The community's base. There's an ATM. There's a little shop for people to do their shopping. Because really, a lot of people from the United Kingdom come here to live. They come to live here, to serve on this base. Since my father is in the military, I know exactly what that's like, right? We leave our homes. When I was a child, I lived in other states. I even lived outside Brazil. But I lived in Rondonia, I lived in Salvador, because my father kept getting transferred. So here, right? I think the British experience this too. They get transferred and serve in the army here. Look, we can see the military base and a soldier taking out the trash. Do you think he notices I'm filming? I hope not. We hope not. We hope not. Wow, it's a beautiful day here. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Today, about 3,000 to 3,500 soldiers live on the island of Cyprus and in these territories, and 7,000 civilians. So 7,000 British people who aren't necessarily soldiers. For example, wives and children of the soldiers. So that's how we calculate it, right? For every soldier, there are 3 British people here. Look, and since there are so many British people, of course, there will be fish and chips. Isn't that crazy? It's like our rice and beans if we were in Brazil. Let's check the prices. The prices are in euros here because they use the euro and not the British pound. It's not the pound anymore. The pound, look at that. The famous fish cake that they like, the fish cake, the potatoes. A really healthy day, right, boy? Despite everything I saw today, I still wasn't satisfied. I needed to go further. I needed to go to a peculiar and unique city here in Cyprus. The last city where Greeks and Turks still live in harmony. Its name is Pila, right in the middle of the demilitarized zone. Here is the British military base, here is the demilitarized zone. And here come the Turks and the Greeks side by side in the same city because no one wanted to leave. They ended up taking this city. Look, the UN is right here, you can see it. Look, check this out. United Nations police from Pila, because the city of Pila is a city. Look, they're here promoting peace. And it's a city where people, both Greeks and Turks, live in harmony. Apparently, it's the only one where this happens. Look at this. The United Nations is right above the pubs. We're going right into this UN cafe.
See outside. It's more nice.
Okay, let's do this inside, of course. Yeah, good man. This is Aaron, and he came to Cyprus as a baby with his family. Remember that I mentioned in the first video of the Cyprus series that Turkey offered benefits for mainland Turks to come here to the island? Well, Aaron's family was one of those people who came here in search of new opportunities. Soon, he will talk a little more about this later in this video. It's awesome, yeah? Cool. Guys, I had no idea. I'm using this here as a power bank. I thought it was, wow, huge here. Wow. And the prices are great, guys. An Aperol, 4 euros, that's a great deal here. A lot of military people come here, right? The British come here a lot, to this place. I chatted here with a guy. His family came here from Turkey. Back when the Turks were offering land and jobs for families to come here. Look at what he told me. Have you been to Cyprus? For how long? I'm 27 years old, okay? You can say 20, 26 and a half, okay? On our side, this side, it's just 1-2 years. Do people live in harmony and peace in this city? Greeks and Turks? Everybody. Do you think this will ever end? No. No? Never. Really? Never. You think the country will always be divided? It will continue like this, always. Forever. Yeah, forever. What is your favorite thing about Cyprus? People. Okay, they're very nice. Friendly people? Very. Oh, and why did you say your parents came to the island? Why did they decide to leave Istanbul and come to Cyprus? I don't know. Because it's such a different place, right? They came to the north side. To Kyrenia? Yeah. Kyrenia, yeah? It's a beautiful city. Nicosia. Nicosia. So did you live in Nicosia? Yeah. Did you like it? Of course. And why did you move to such a small town like this? Quiet life. That's good. Thank you. What's your name? Era? Era. Thank you so much, Anna. Era. You very much. You're welcome. You're welcome. Will this place ever come back to life? I'm going to be positive and hope so. I really wanted to hear from you. What did you think of Varosha? Do you think they should allow the Greeks to come back here? Or are they right to forbid the occupation of territory that theoretically was Turkish and should go back to the Turks? I want to know your opinion about this video. I'd love to read, reply to, and talk about it down below. Thanks, my fellow traveler. Remember, you are amazing and can achieve anything you want, even in Varosha.